On this edition of the program, Donald Trump is the president, his inauguration, Biden's pardons, and more. It's all coming up.
The following is brought to you by Just Another Pilot.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Politics program for Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2025. And as I speak to you, Donald Trump is now the President of the United States. He has just been inaugurated. We are right here outside of the Capitol building where everything went down. It's indoors because it is absolutely frigid as I am speaking with you right now. We're going to take you through a little bit. This is a bit of a travelogue episode. Some clips of me on Sky News Arabia, which is where I spent the inauguration. And then we will roam around and get some of the sights and sounds for you. But quick thoughts on everything that went down. Number one, the speech itself, Donald Trump's speech, was a little bit more bright future, a little less dark past. There was not the American carnage that kind of dotted his initial inauguration, one that famously led for George W. Bush to say that was some weird S. But what is going to wind up dominating today, as I'm getting blown away by this Arctic wind chill, this polar vortex wind, is not only what Joe Biden did on the way out with his pardons, but also what Donald Trump is doing on the way in with his executive orders. We are going to find a place that isn't so cold so I can break that down. Here we go. This is a very hi, everybody. This is Jen Briney and I. We're a very Morning Joe setup here. It's just the uncomfortable dinner table framing of Morning Joe here. We are in our Airbnb after the inauguration, after it is officially Jover. The Biden administration is past tense. The Donald Trump 47th administration has now begun. We can start with the speech, we can start with the pardons, or we can start with the executive orders. Where do you want to begin?
Well, which speech? Because there were two. There was the one he gave, and then there was the real one. Did you see the real one?
Well, there's also another one that's happening now because he's going. Yeah, he's at the arena speaking for the second time in 2 days.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the one in the overflow room?
Yeah. Because he went in there and was like, well, this is what I wanted to say, and that's where he went back to true Trump form.
Yes.
Because I watched the first speech that he gave to the nation on the
Yes.
teleprompter. And I was
Yes.
like, okay, maybe this won't be so bad. And then...
It was very bright future, less dark past, you know. There was like the one moment of ritual humiliation for Biden where he said he was going to declare an emergency on the southern border, and it got a standing ovation from everybody but Joe and Kamala, who are sitting in the front. But yeah, it was not American carnage like the last one was, but then the overflow, he kind of got into his brass tacks of here's what I want to do and why.
Off the rails, saying he didn't lose in 2020. It was... You know, if you're an immigrant in this country, it's concerning, but it was just like, oh yeah, he's the same person he's always been.
Yes.
You know, you have this moment where he puts his hand on the Bible and like swears the oath. And
He didn't,
like, okay.
actually. He forgot to. Or they were running late, and so he actually didn't. They might have to do it like Obama. Obama screwed up the words of the oath, and they had to redo the oath, and Trump did not put his hand on the Bible. They were rushing it. But anyway.
That's
Metaphorically. Yeah.
Shit. But yeah, like you have this moment of like, oh, maybe he's, I don't know, different, and he's not. He's not.
Well, if you were had your hopes up for that, I don't really know what to tell you.
I didn't. You know what happened is I was on Justin's program on November 5th, and I think if anybody saw that, like my reaction, I was kind of surprised myself, like how chill I was about it.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking like the movie Hunger Games, when Katniss finds out that she has to like go back to the Hunger Games. Like I think a lot of people had that moment November 5th.
Yeah.
I had it today.
Gotcha.
So it's like when I saw that second speech, that's where it hit me. I was like, oh my God, it's happening again. And then I went and walked around DC for 2 hours by myself.
Yeah.
So like I had the moment today. I'm having the anxiety. I'm having the fear. Like it's back.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the pardons or the executive orders?
Let's do executive orders first.
We'll end on the pardons.
Yeah, because that's kind of fun.
Big grand finale.
Yeah, and what a finale it was. And it's also where Justin gets to say he was right, which he enjoys doing.
So we'll save it. That'll be my dessert.
Yeah.
That'll be my dessert.
The great finale.
The executive orders, somewhere between 100 and 200, probably the ones that are the most controversial, are him saying that we will be ending birthright citizenship.
Which you can't do, right? That's a constitutional thing.
So here's where I think it is. Immigration hawks, and this is like going back decades, this is like Pat Buchanan and stuff back in the early 90s, have believed that the 14th Amendment, it says that anybody born or naturalized under the jurisdiction thereof is a citizen of the United States of America, right?
Seems pretty clear.
Immigration hawks have said under the jurisdiction thereof does not include migrants, illegal migrants, and that they have been angling for a Supreme Court ruling on it forever. And so they've wanted somebody to push it into a legal status for which it would have to have a Supreme Court ruling. And so essentially the way I read this is that, number one, that's been the legal theory. He's going to push it. It's going to go to the Supreme Court, and we're going to be done with that idea if and when the Supreme Court rules, like I think a bipartisan grouping of legal scholars assume that they will. That does not mean that illegal migrants are excluded from it. But one way or another, we'll get an answer to that particular thing that has been around for decades. And like this would have to be a constitutional amendment if you actually wanted to end birthright citizenship.
It just shows that he's going to be testing things as far as he can. Like that's what I'm concerned about, is like we've had these Supreme Court rulings, like the congressional dish that came out today is about the immunity ruling. And it's just like, I think we're entering a different phase, not just of the Trump presidencies, but all presidencies.
Yes.
And I think this guy intends to push the envelope. And I think that's what's
I think that is 100% absolutely true.
Yeah.
Like there was a strain of right-wing thought, MAGA thought, through the first Trump administration that because everything came together so last minute, because Trump didn't know his way around Washington, he didn't know how things worked, he was trusting the wrong people, half the people in the staff were Democrats, blah, 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 that there were a lot of like, hey, dummies, why don't you just do blank? And that was one of them. That was like the Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter had a falling out with Donald Trump because he wasn't tough enough on pushing, like getting the money wherever he needed to build the border wall or doing this kind of stuff with birthright citizenship. Where I do think it does have like an immediate impact is a chilling effect on illegal crossing migration in a way that they want it to be the mirror version of what happened with Biden, where it was a green means go, come on in, you don't have to wait in Mexico, you can come in, you can stay for 7 years while you wait for your migration hearing or your asylum hearing. Now it's like the opposite. It is like we are actively cutting down the loopholes. We are actively trying to take away reasons why you would want to come here. This is like apply this way or don't come at all because it's going to be frustrating and you're not going to have a clear path. You know, like they deleted the CBP1 app, which is where a lot of people were, and so now like their appointments are now gone. Like their place in line to hear an asylum judge is like gone. We have no idea where that's going to land. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the way I see it is that like that is his mirror image is just like we don't want anybody to have a thought that there is a good outcome that can happen from illegally crossing into the United States.
I guess, but the problem with asylum is it's not illegal. And I think that's one of the issues that I'm having with this is like if he's deleting CPP1, that was a legal process. And so I'm afraid that these people who did actually come here legally, I think they're going to get swept up in some of these deportations. And I'm worried about the physical violence of the deportations that he's planning to do.
And that's starting like today.
Today in Chicago. Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm concerned for physical humans. I'm concerned about his energy policies.
Well, so that was the other thing. That is worrying to you. It is something that certainly conservatives have been jonesing for, which is we are in prime drill baby drill America right now.
Yes, we
are. The other executive orders, I mean, some of them are somewhere between silly and maybe they have actual ramifications, like
Mars.
Well, that was in the speech. You know, that actually, of all the crazy stuff, that one actually has a possibility of happening because right now, I mean, Starship is the vehicle for which humans would go to Mars on. That's being launched now. It's being tested now. That's the big one that's being caught in the chopsticks. And I think the next window of when it would be the shortest distance from Earth to Mars is in like 2 years. So you could be sending humans to Mars to plant a flag in Trump's term.
Great.
It's like feasible, is all I'm saying. No, I was talking more about renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America and
Did you
renaming.
See Hillary piss herself when he said that? She was laughing so hard. Yeah.
And then renaming Mount Denali in Alaska to Mount McKinley again, which it was previously. The Mount McKinley thing, someone's going to need to write in and tell me why that matters, why he even has a hard-on for it at all. The Gulf of America one.
Well, in his second speech, he went off about President McKinley too. So
Yeah.
he has some kind of boner for McKinley, and I don't know why. I don't know enough about my presidents.
McKinley heads, get at me.
Yeah, tell us.
Get at me. I need to know what the McKinley thing is because I am not aware of it right now. The Gulf of America thing, the rumor has been that was because he wanted to sidestep these Biden orders that were restricting offshore drilling. So it was like a one weird trick to get around these offshore drilling things that would be more difficult to get around. There would be a slower moving process to get around it.
As in, like, the order says you can't drill in the Gulf of Mexico, so if there is no Gulf of Mexico,
then the order doesn't count.
Pushing the envelope.
Yes. And then where else? Where else are we? Oh, I guess we can go through one more thing. This is actually happening as we are recording, there are votes being taken, and we are assuming that these are all going to be confirmed for what we are, or you're going to be on for the next week or so about, and that is the cabinet. Marco Rubio being voted on literally right now. Yeah. John Ratcliffe being voted on about 10 minutes from when we record. Kristi Noem.
Director. So we have Secretary of State, CIA Director.
Kristi Noem for Homeland Security and Russell Vought for OMB. That's at 5:30, so in about an hour from when we're recording. And then in about 20 minutes, this is the big surprise because the rumor was this was going to be delayed until later this week, but Pete Hegseth going from dead man walking, thought to be the first person that would be knocked out, it looks like he might be confirmed on Inauguration Day for Secretary of Defense.
Wow. I mean, I guess it's good for us to have a Secretary of Defense.
Probably good.
Yeah.
Probably good.
I think it sends a good message.
Yeah.
To the world.
And then meanwhile, Sean Duffy for Transportation, Pam Bondi would be voted on Wednesday, Doug Collins for VA, and Lee Zeldin for EPA on Thursday. The other news congressionally is that Mike Waltz officially resigned today, which means that the Republican majority is again down to 3 as they wait for that special election to get another body there. Stefanik has yet to resign.
Yeah, she's still in the House, so that would bring it down to 2, assuming by the end of the week.
So I think I don't know when they are looking to
They're
confirm
getting real close
Stefanik.
to the margin of Massey.
Right? To get sucked into the mass hole.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look, there is a problem, and I think a lot of principled libertarian types have said this for a long time, that the executive branch, this is where we'll channel our inner Heaton, that the executive branch has become far too powerful. They've become far too imperial, and that now we're in this situation where because the legislative branch has become so stuck in the mud, that we have these dramatic shifts of like, okay, well now Biden signed 75 executive orders to counter Trump's 25 executive orders, and now Trump comes back and he signs 200 executive orders to get rid of Biden's 75 executive orders that got rid of his 25 executive orders, and forever and ever and ever we'll just keep going in this feedback loop until that's all we're doing is just writing executive orders at any given time.
Well, and this jerks, this affects us personally, like you said, because my husband works for a clean energy division of a multinational company that has fossil fuel assets too, and it's like they're talking about these giant projects, these wind projects. Trump sent a letter to Congress saying that they're just going to stop all these wind projects, and it's like these are projects that take 4, 5, 6 years to put in. So if every 4 years you have these like giant swings in what we're doing and where the funding's going and the permitting, and like there's effects of this where it's like you can't plan long term.
Yeah.
When we are just jerking the country around like this, when we're jerking our businesses around, it's like it's hard to decide which path we're on if we keep jumping back and forth between the two. So yeah, here we go again.
Which leads us, if we were talking about imperial presidencies,
and precedents, to
Joe Biden on the way out. You were real smug yesterday saying, James Biden hasn't been pardoned, getting a little close to the end. You're nervous that James Biden's going to not get pardoned? I'm like, nope, it's going to happen. It's going to be in the very last second.
And Trump was like sitting in the chair getting ready to put his hand on the thing when you texted me that it happened. It was the last second.
It was 30 minutes to go in Joe Biden's presidency that it was worse than I thought, because it wasn't just James Biden. It was literally his entire family. We have, I think, 5 or 6 now Nixon-level pardons.
And tell him the date.
2014. Yeah. Right at the beginning of all the Burisma stuff. Yeah.
Right when the Ukraine regime change happened. Why that date? Yeah, it's the ugliest. Like, we were so afraid that Trump was going to pardon his family, and it was Joe Biden who was saying
the clips online are
really
Oh, the compilations of everybody smugly saying, like, including Adam Schiff, who got a pardon. The entire January 6th commission got a pardon. Fauci got a pardon. And Blanket.
Fauci's also went back to 2014, which
Yeah.
is interesting. I
Yeah.
think it has a lot to do with maybe authorizing gain-of-function research when it wasn't supposed to be authorized. Like, maybe there's a reason that guy needed to be pardoned. No, it's dirty stuff, and this is what's so frustrating about the Democrats is that they will rightfully say the Republicans are doing something wrong, and then they go and validate it by doing the exact same thing.
Doing wrong.
Yeah, it's like the Republicans go low, and so we just follow, and we're just headed down this path to the bottom, and yeah.
I was radicalized by the Hunter pardon. I joked on We're Not Wrong that, like, from my perspective, Jamie Comer never told a lie. I now believe everything from his investigation.
Part of me wants to go and watch the investigation now.
And now it's like, when you do the entire family,
Yeah.
like, who was looking at Valerie Biden and saying, like, nobody had ever talked about that. And then he's handing out these, like, Nixon pardons like they're stocking stuffers at the end of his term.
I mean, the generous way of
And he's doing it in the shame hour. Like, that's when the dirtiest pardons come. And I just want to point this out again. And I said this during the Hunter stuff. The dirtiest pardons that we thought were the dirtiest pardons were, like, the donor pardons where, like, people had already been in jail or at least been convicted for something.
Yeah.
Like, Mark Rich was looked at as, like, a super gross pardon that Clinton did on the way out. And that was a donor's wife who had given them a bunch of money, but Mark Rich was in jail, and he commuted the rest of his sentence while he was in jail.
This is preemptive pardons.
I've
Never seen this before.
For, like, random stuff.
Well,
And for people that said they didn't want it, Schiff said he didn't want it. Kinzinger said he didn't want it, and they got it anyway. And so now it's like...
well, the generous reading on this is that Biden's just trying to protect them from frivolous prosecutions that are done in revenge. That is the justification that the Biden people are giving. I'm not sure I buy it. I'm not sure I buy that, like, his entire family wasn't, like, it looks bad to be pardoned. So even though some of the names on there, we don't think they did anything wrong, now I'm kind of questioning it.
The Biden family, I'm like, no, you were all bagmen. Like, I am Al-Qaeda radicalized on that. Like, now every Biden crime family, every weird slurred Rudy Giuliani theory, like, I'm now thinking more credibly about.
With these pardons, do you think we are more or less likely to find out what they did in Ukraine?
So the fascinating thing about it is that there is a strain of thought that says you should now for sure open congressional inquiries and call them, because now they can't plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Because there's no fear that they would incriminate themselves. They have a blanket pardon. So now either they tell the truth or they are in trouble for not telling the truth.
I mean, I'd be down for those hearings.
And so, like, who knows whether or not... I tend to think that Donald Trump creates so much noise around things that are happening going forward that I don't know how much he is going to be looking in the past. I honestly just believe, I'll just say this blanket, it hurt Donald Trump during the 2016 campaign when he was talking about locking up Hillary Clinton, or, like, because you'd be in jail and stuff like that. It hurt him. It hurt him with a core constituency of the Republican Party. It hurt Joe Biden when there were multiple cases brought against Donald Trump in a campaign year. I think if you had brought some of those cases earlier, pre-midterms, maybe a different thing. If you had brought the January 6th case within a year or so of January 6th, I think it's looked at differently. It was looked at as, wait a minute, we didn't like Donald Trump because he was saying he was going to weaponize the DOJ for political interference. Now this looks like that. I would say, just politically, again, we don't do morals here on this show. This is, a totally amoral podcast, but politically, it is bad for you to do it. So Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, for whatever has been said or hasn't been said or has been blown out of proportion or isn't about going after Benny Thompson and Liz Cheney and Anthony Fauci and whatever, I don't think that they would be politically rewarded. Donald Trump would be politically rewarded for it.
But does he care anymore? Because he doesn't have anything to run for.
I just think he's got enough stuff going forward.
I just
Like trying to deport like 2 million people. Like do you think like that's going to take up all the oxygen in the room? Yeah. Like, and either he's going to be making his case on that and putting his best foot forward on why this is the thing that needs to happen right now, or he's going to be diluting it with whatever else this stuff is. So who knows whether or not he's going to do it. I personally don't find it to be a credible explanation on why you issue blanket pardons. I'm sorry. Like, I don't trust the reading of Democrats to people in the Trump orbit, because I think we've seen repeatedly that there are unrealistic readings of things that they've said. Mm-hmm. And what the actual thing that just happened is the precedent setting that nobody wants, that nobody wanted. Nobody wanted there to be a precedent that you give your entire family the same pardon that Ford gave Nixon, a thing that might have cost him the presidency, that he had to go out and explain to America why he did it. And you know, agree with it or not, the idea was he didn't want America to be ripped apart by a trial of a former president.
Well, and then when Trump goes and pardons all of the people that trashed our Capitol 4 years ago, are we going to be able to turn around and be like, you're abusing the pardon power?
Not now.
Yeah, it's just, it rings so hollow coming from these people that allowed this on their side. So, rot in both houses.
Yeah.
It's got to be so hard to be a member of the Justice Department right now. Just because, like, they worked for 4 years hunting these people down, prosecuting them all. It could all get thrown away. They were seeking justice for the fake election certifications that Trump did, and now he's president. Like, it must be really hard to be someone who's trying to seek justice as your profession in this moment in time.
I'm not fully read up on the J6 cases. I will say I am unclear as to why we have, after 4 years, not kind of gotten through everything and just known what the what the sentencing is for all of these people. The fact that this stuff is still being hung up is crazy to me.
So Jamie Dupree is one of my favorite reporters. I get his newsletter. It's the only one I read every day, and he's a congressional reporter. And he's been reporting on every single one of these people that gets convicted. And at this point, it's the fact that they had a tough time tracking these people down. So they were looking at the videos, trying to identify them. So it took a while to find the ones that are still being prosecuted now. But in all the ones that I'm reading, the evidence they have is, here's the guy with the flagpole smashing the window. Here he is hitting the cop. It's still violent people that are getting prosecuted, and we'll see how many of them. We don't know what Trump's intentions are. So I don't know if he's going to go through and be careful about it and be like, okay,
Vance said it was going to be a case-by-case thing, and that violent offenders would not be pardoned, but who knows? We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, a precedent was set here that the pardon power, there's a new level of abuse that's allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joe Biden did it.
Well, Joe Biden's name did it. I don't know who's writing these pardons, but... Was I the only one during the swearing-in ceremony that couldn't stop watching Joe Biden? That nodding off?
Yeah, I thought he was asleep.
I was pointing. I was like... So I did Sky Arabia from 9 to 11, and then they swapped me out for somebody else. But I was just in their newsroom watching the rest of the Trump speech because I wasn't going to go anywhere else and watch it. And I could only watch Biden. I was just sleeping. So, oh, he's awake. Yeah. Sleeping, nodding off, sleeping. Yeah. And then I was watching for what Biden or Kamala would clap for. Yes. And the only thing they clapped for was the hostages. And I found it kind of gross that they didn't clap with everyone else for Black people, in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And they didn't clap. I was like, okay, guys, I get the resistance, but this. Do you see that Kamala didn't know the words to America the Beautiful? No. I don't think she knew she was supposed to sing. That was my favorite moment, by the way, of the whole. The Carrie Underwood being a pro. Yeah, and everyone's singing along with her. I liked that. Yeah. That was cool. There was a moment, when I was watching everyone walk in, though, I had the moment of is that Joe Rogan? Did you see it? Over Dana White?
No, Joe Rogan was there.
Joe Rogan was
his
there?
family, and they were, there was all the rich billionaires that were mulling around at the cabinet. He was back there too. He was over to the side, but he was one of those people that got like prime seating.
Yeah.
Podcaster Joe Rogan.
Well, started from the bottom.
Yeah, this is a new era in American politics.
I got distracted on television. Apologies to Abu Dhabi, who was watching me in Arabic today. But it was very hard to be on set while listening to a translation in your ear, looking at the very accomplished, professional, and beautiful host who is there talking to you in Arabic. I'm listening, and then in the corner of my eyes, I see Lauren Sanchez, Jeff Bezos' soon-to-be second wife, who wore like a lace bustier and a white blazer, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I just need to point out that Lauren Sanchez has made a very unconventional fashion choice.
Yeah. Did you see the still of Zuckerberg taking a good long look?
Yeah, doing his own fact checking.
Yeah.
He's doing his own research.
There were some hot chicks up there for sure. And there's some hot chicks roaming around Washington, D.C. right now. They're wearing surprisingly little clothing considering that it's not warm outside. So
you want to know who else was wearing surprisingly little clothing? John Fetterman, who showed up in shorts and a hoodie.
That was a real picture?
Yes.
I saw, wow, that is inappropriate. It just is. Like, there were people out there wearing black tie stuff this morning. Mm-hmm. Like, the ones I saw walking out with the papers, the paper was kind of a clue that, like, these were VIPs that got to actually get in. And they were all dressed like you, Chester Robert. Yeah, like, quite nice. For a sitting senator to show up in a hoodie.
I think he's keeping it real.
Oh, he's gross. I don't get too weird about outfits.
Dress code?
Yeah, like I'm sitting right here wearing a hat because my head is cold. I'm not a fashionista, but that is inappropriate.
Yeah.
It just is. Like,
I like that this is where you draw the decorum line.
I mean, it's not like he wasn't even wearing jeans. It was shorts.
It was like gym shorts. Yeah,
it's 24 degrees out, so it doesn't even make sense on
that would be, that's the argument, is that he's a sociopath that just doesn't feel cold.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that might actually, like, did the stroke take out the temperature part of your brain?
Yeah, I think there's just the way you present yourself shows a level of respect, and he is not showing that level of respect for the day. Just Barack Obama was there. You know he hates Trump. You know Hillary hates Trump. You know all of them hate him. Biden hates him. Jill hates him. But they still showed up because today was the peaceful transition of power.
Yeah.
I know that, like, it can get a little gross, waxing poetic about this stuff, but it is awesome that we do that.
It's important. Country. It's rare. It's rare on the earth that happens.
This is a special thing.
Direct democracy of an executive of that power does not happen anywhere with this level of power behind it.
Yeah, and with this level of bad blood. I mean, Mike Pence participated, for Christ's sake. So it's like...
Karen Pence, noticeable by her absence, but Mike Pence showed up.
There were a few.
Michelle Obama took a powder, but Michelle Obama hates the Bidens and the Trumps, so I think she just wanted no part of either.
I feel like the first ladies can skip it, but the fact that the ex-presidents were there, I think it respects the process. It respects our country and what we've set up here, and so I think the sweatshirt and the shorts and the running shoes, I read it as disrespectful.
I think he just should have went the whole 9 yards and smoked a Marlboro, right in the rotunda.
Just mid-inauguration.
Actually, no, a Newport. I feel like that would have been a better. Just smoke a menthol cigarette right in the middle of the rotunda.
Put it out in the chair.
You using this? And then just put it right in, next to Lauren Sanchez's, Playboy After Dark outfit.
Yeah, he wasn't far off from that. Wow, I can't believe that was a real picture.
Anybody else that or anything else that stood out to you during the inauguration?
George W. Bush can't help but be a goofball at all times. He's up there winking at people, and he's just a man-child, and I like him for it.
He's just from war criminal to just old George, just famous painter George W. Bush.
Yeah, he's just up there having a good old time. It's like I look at all these people and I was like, wow, Obama with the birther stuff and, all this bad blood. And then there's George, like he's getting along.
Oh, and Trump shredded the Bushes too.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem to have bad blood with anybody. Like he's just, for some reason, he's just been forgiven for everything he did as president.
Well,
And
time heals a lot.
I mean, it hasn't. I still think that he belongs in The Hague, but
You just said you liked him.
Okay.
Of all the people in The Hague, he's the most charming. Is that charming, most rizzed up Hague recipient?
If you had to share a cell with one of our former presidents, I think George W. Bush would be by far the most fun. Maybe Obama could be a good time.
He's not even in my top 3. Of living former presidents?
Yeah.
We're doing living former presidents.
There's not a lot.
So that's Clinton.
Obama,
Clinton, Bush, Trump, Biden.
Yeah. I think
So
George
5.
W. is the most fun. Unless you play basketball.
Clinton, Trump are my top 2. I don't know in what order.
You think sharing a cell with Bill Clinton would be a better time than George W. Bush? George W. Bush, I bet tells like really dirty jokes. He's always fucking around, and people enjoy goofing around with him. Like, did you see Obama?
So I've actually been in a press scrum with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is, have you ever been around Bill Clinton?
No.
Bill Clinton is like, you get why he was who he was 2 seconds around him. Like, he's got this weird, like, thing. Like, I don't know what it is. Trust me. Like, I am very cynical about politicians. I was, like, around him for 2 seconds, and I got it. Like, he just has this thing where you just want to talk to him and ask him questions. He connects with people. I was never around George W. Bush. I was never around Obama. Obama is sneaky really low to me, because I think he's just gonna kind of be like a rich, like an academic. Like he's going to be kind of like ivory tower-y.
I feel like Andrew Heaton would like to share a cell with Obama, and I feel like beer drinkers want to share a cell with George W. Bush, because America voted for him because they wanted to have a beer with the guy.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I think he would play quarters with you in your cell. Like, I think he's just would be more fun.
Or maybe he just like talk about cycling or something boring, like, or talk about he's like a sneaky reader, so he'd like try to talk to you about a bunch of books he read that you haven't.
I bet he would pay me like one of his French girls.
Jeez Louise. All right. Obviously, we will continue to keep an eye on the hearings. We'll bring you back next week to talk about where we are with the hearings. Have you listened to any in the intermediate time?
No.
I think this has taken up all of our political bandwidth over the last few days.
But tomorrow's a travel day. So.
Yeah. And we actually get I think our first phase of the hearings kind of like came and went. And so Pam Bondi, Hegseth, like those were kind of the more controversial ones. Rubio, we did watch together on the Congressional Dish Patreon, so you can go there. That was a slam dunk. It'll be curious to see when this vote comes out, whether or not it's, 50, 50 altogether, or if there's a few holdouts. But
RFK and Tulsi haven't happened.
Those are, that and Kash Patel.
Yeah.
Those are now they've risen up to the list of all right, where are we going with all these? So we'll check that out. In the meanwhile, Congressional Dish, We're Not Wrong. Thanks to everybody who came out to our We're Not Wrong live show in DC. Had a great time hanging out afterward.
Yeah.
Watching the fourth quarter of the Bills Ravens game, which was awesome.
Boo.
Because the Ravens suck. Choke.
Poor Andrews.
Oh, poor Andrew.
He's never going to get
Catch
over
the
that.
ball, dork.
I mean, that would have made things better for him.
Yeah. And, salute to the Commanders. They, DC was very happy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, all right, Jen, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And that'll wrap it up for us today. Our Inauguration Day special. You guys got it all fast. I'm not going to do our regular credits here because, quite frankly, the cold rotted my brain. It is now just a fragile stem that, to the odd polar breeze, will just have it fall out of my head like a shriveled little piece of paper. However, we will be back later this week. I want to talk to Claire Mignon, who from the La Poire outlet from France. She was actually in the room. She was in the rotunda. So I want to get a sense from her how things were and you know, some of the gossip. So this isn't the end of our inauguration coverage, but it is the end of our coverage today. So till next time, friends, this is your old pal Justin Robert Young, live from Washington, D.C., saying some shows talk about politics, others talk about politics, and still more discuss politics, but this is the only show that dares discuss three.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Dog and Pony Show audio.